it's all very sad. I think the whole thing has just turned into, it's a whinge fest on his behalf, in that he's moaning about everybody else, and everybody is the villain of the piece except him. And obviously, it's an easy pop to have a go at your stepmother. And clearly, every family, the family dynamic of, if you just take the royal family away, these kind of issues get sort of played out the length and breadth of the land. Unfortunately, for Camilla, she was always going to be, in Harry's eyes, the villain of the piece. And even if she wasn't, and clearly there are things he was briefing, but he's again been economical with the truth. There was a moment when a lady in waiting did say something to her husband, who then told a journalist, and she immediately resigned. So what it proves is, he is being loose with the facts on every issue, and that's, I think, is what is frustrating everybody.
The thing is, I would have certain criticism of the media, which are referring to Harry saying that, Camilla, well, in front of the Times today, villainous Camilla was a danger. This is from the interview with the 60 Minutes on CBS with Anderson Cooper. Harry said of Camilla, his stepmother, she was the villain. She was the third person in my parents' marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image. He said, made her dangerous because of the connection she was forging within the British press. So, yeah, he did say she was dangerous. He believes that she was briefing against him. But she was considered the villain at the time. At the time, Diana said, under her... Let me do my Diana here. There were 3 of us in this marriage. She was the villain. Load of people now who are defending Charles and Camilla hated both of them at the time, said that Camilla could never be queen, or outraged, and the like. So she has been able to rehabilitate herself. But I certainly don't get the sense, having had to follow this stuff from her work for all these years, that she did it at the expense of William and Harry. On the contrary, William and Harry being supportive of Charles being in a happy relationship and then marriage was part of the rehabilitation, wasn't it? That she made the family happier.
Yeah, exactly, and that was the point. Yes, she knew she had to, and Charles knew he had to rehabilitate his image with the British public, because it was a long road and it took a long time for the acceptance to happen. And I remember when they got married, both William and Harry seemed to be delighted for their father, because remember, Harry said that people don't marry for the heart in the royal family. Well, Camilla truly is clearly Charles's one true love. Well, he's done it for his heart, and all the pain that it caused. Now, clearly it was bad, unsettling for everybody. And the book basically is a sort of homage to his mother and the pain that he's had to suffer through the loss of his mother.
I have a funny feeling if Diana hadn't died in that tunnel in Paris, and if she was still alive, he would be bleating about her and complaining about her as well, although, of course, a lot of the issues he's got as a result of losing his mother at such a young age. Look, there are a lot of people who've had a lot of sympathy for Harry, and I was certainly someone who, like, you know what, if you want to go off and have a private life, fall in love with the woman you want to love, and you could just go off and not do all this public duty stuff, and you just make your own way and have a private life away from the cameras, I'd have gone, good on you, mate, well done. But the fact that what he's done is he's bleated and complained, said he's doing a life of service when actually he's just selling his soul. He's being a total hypocrite by selling basically to the highest bidder. And we're talking like $20 million, possibly even $30 million for this book and updates. This willingness to reveal the most private, intimate, personal conversations. When he complains about the media doing that, and Meghan complains about her father, Thomas Markle, revealing letters, when he's revealing text messages, it is quite extraordinary. One of the things that has really caught everyone's imagination, though, is this row between Meghan and Kate, mainly because it's women who get obsessed with the royals, and it's women who are obsessed with Meghan and Kate. Oh, by the way, women who buy the magazines that use all the paparazzi pictures. So, again, you've only got yourselves to blame for the harassment of these people. But this absurd row between these women, who one of them cried. I genuinely don't care which one of them cried, because it was about the length of a bridesmaid dress, for God's sake, for Princess Charlotte. I mean, the idea that anyone has time to get in a state about all of this when they've got, most mums are busy, trying to hold down a job and get to the supermarket on time and get to the nursery on time and get to the kids. I mean, they've got that. I'm sorry, most mums don't have time for this nonsense. But that row has really just sort of become at the centre of this, hasn't it?
Well, actually, that bridesmaids who cried or didn't cry has actually been something that has been out there for some time in rumours. So clearly that's why it's been referenced again. But, I mean, if you think how many weddings does suddenly this go on at? The tensions run high. And clearly that's what's happened here. particularly when you've got a wedding on this scale, the tensions probably were extremely high.
Most of our weddings aren't on telly. We might have a video, but they're not on telly to millions of people. So, yeah. But it does at a time when, our lean story today is not the whingings of a millionaire prince. It is whether or not, public sector workers can get pay settlements. By the way, those will be paid for by both public sector and private sector workers. Whether energy companies are going to be able to carry on fleecing firms and hospitals and schools trying to heat and light their buildings and the like. I mean, the concerns that people are having right now about whether or not they put the heating on while it's cold. And here's this family squabbling about bridesmaid dresses made by a French couturier.
Well, let's put it like this. The book is now out. I'm on holiday, and I hope I can get back to the serious matters in hand, which is getting onto a beach and not reading Spare. And I think everybody else might now just have Harry fatigue, because it's been a blitz when, as you quite rightly allude to fact, most people are thinking, how do I turn my heater on? And here we are worrying about a man, whether he's going to be happy in his $1 million villa, and he's basically moaning about every member of his family. I think now we all need to breathe, and Harry does need to do more breathing than most to take stock and wonder what he's actually achieved.
What did you make of what he had to say? Because when he said villain, I mean, he was talking about how she was perceived by millions of people in this country when she first came on the scene.
He didn't make that clear.
No.
He's been incredibly nasty about her, saying that, what I can tell you is that she was fantastic trying to help Meghan. She had her own experience of how difficult it was to fit into the royal family, and she tried to take her out to lunch. She did all sorts of things, and she also, after the the Grenfell book that came out, she invited her and Harry and a friend to dinner, and she made everything that was from the recipe book.
Oh, that's a lovely gesture. Wait, when you were talking to Prince Harry about for your own biography of him, and you spent a long time interviewing him, and I remember you talked to me about how he'd feared about would Meghan be able to handle it, or warned her about how difficult life was going to be. Did he express these sort of negative feelings about Camilla at the time?
No, he didn't. He actually was very, very nice about her. He said that, she's a wonderful woman, and I quite understand she might find us very difficult, and she does her best. And this thing that he's actually kept it, about the only thing he's kept it, she has made our father very happy. Yeah. But there was nothing nasty about that. There was no villain. There was no anything at all. And if you see him at the wedding, he had a ball of a time. He put balloons and wrote things on the car that they went off with. He was very happy. He was exhilarated, really. Yeah. And it wasn't just because his father was happy. He liked her. She did her very best to get the balance right, not to try and take over Diana's place, because that would have been dreadful, but to be a good friend there when needed. And also she said to me that she talked a lot about helping him with outside modern day things, because she'd lived a normal life. Yeah. Until she was in her 50s. And that's been very helpful to King Charles.
I mean, she's always struck me as someone who's, I say, I've not got much time for any of the royal family, but as a rather a good egg. I've been to some events where she's spoken at, and lots of people who've dealt with her through charities, and she's up there with Princess Anne in their view in terms of hard working and getting on with it, and believes in the causes she talks about. But this is the thing, a lot of people will say this is where he's crossed a red line. The attacks on Prince William and the revelation of these very, very intimate personal conversations, but this red line of attacking Camilla, look, when you look at the attacks on Meghan, and again, I don't know, she had almost entirely lovely press and media when she first appeared on the scene. Camilla had quite the opposite. Attacks on Fergie and Kate had a load of nasty stuff, but Camilla, it was off the scale. And I'm assuming the media was racist at that point when they were attacking Camilla as well. But she, more than anyone in this country, has borne the brunt of the tabloid media's ferocity.
Yes. And she's never complained about it. She's never said something that it's not fair. You never get an interview where she complains.
She did have an affair with a married man. She's got herself to blame on that front, let's be honest. There were 3 of them in that marriage.
Well, they didn't see each other for a long time, actually, about 6 or 8 years, actually.
Oh, you don't get brownie points. As a married woman, you don't get brownie points for that, I'm afraid. Sauce.
Well,
I'm old-fashioned.
Well, it's perfectly understandable. But she is a very good person, and her whole point is that she loves King Charles and she's there for him. And I think during this time with the book, she'll be very, very strong and help.
But I mean, there's a clip in which Prince Harry also says in an interview with ABC News where he says it's never going to be possible for him and Meghan to return to the UK as working royals. I think even just to live in the UK, even certainly while he's still with Meghan. And I wouldn't wish them to break up for the sake of the children, but I know a lot of people are saying that's what they hope for. Do you think he's right, that actually he knows that he has crossed a line now, that's it, it's over?
No, I think it's just because Meghan doesn't want to live here. She doesn't like the UK. It's too small. She thinks of everything on a global scale. So this is much too small. There's no point being important in this tiny little island.
That's why it was always laughable, wasn't it? They were going to live in South Africa or New Zealand or Australia. I mean, that was never going to happen. Who are we kidding?
It wasn't. Of course it wasn't. This is where she's happy, in New York. But actually, very interesting. What he said last night was... Meghan is not visibly black, he said.
Well,
now, on one of his...
Well, on her acting CV, she never described herself as mixed race, did she? Look...